Hey friends, today I'm going to be showing you 3 ways to use Procreate in my painting process with my door hangers. Whether you're sketching out your own designs, practicing lettering without the mess, or trying new layouts before ever picking up a brush, it's such a game changer. So let's jump in. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do it. All you're going to need is your iPad, an Apple Pencil, and the Procreate app. So the first way that I like to use Procreate for designing door hangers is sketching. Sometimes it can be really difficult to kind of get the concept in your mind of what you want. And so sketching it out is really great. You can do this one of 2 ways. You can either, let me start with black ink here and just select like a sketching brush. And Procreate has all these brushes built in that you can choose from. So if I just select like one of these little pencils or whatever, test it, see if I like how it draws, I can start just kind of doodling and sketching. So, let's say we wanted to make like a mug or something. That's really crooked. We could kind of make an oval and we could kind of start sketching the shape of the mug. Do we want it to have curved sides? Do we want it to have rounded sides? How do we want this to look? So just kind of sketch it on there. And this is just using the little sketch pencils. This is one way that you can kind of like doodle and design a door hanger. And so once you kind of get the sketch going, and maybe we want something to come out of the top of this, like some whipped cream or something. So let's kind of sketch some whipped cream. Oh, that looks funny. Easier said than done, right? So maybe this is our whipped cream, and it's got like a little curl up here at the top. Oh. Kind of like that. I don't know, can y'all see that? It's just a rough sketch. So now what I want to do is reduce the opacity of my sketch, which means make it kind of transparent. And then I'm going to create a layer on top of it and switch pencils. Doing this allows me to then create, like, I can trace over the top of the lines that I just did. Let me make that a little thicker. I can trace over the lines of what I just did and then make the lines that will actually be like the shape of the door hanger. So now I'm just tracing. Whoops, I don't need that line. That's going to be part of my whipped cream. This is going to be a really rough draft because I'm not going to attempt to make this really great while I'm on here with y'all. Okay, so this is our rough sketch of our mug. Let me do the handle. And you don't have to follow your sketch lines perfectly. You can kind of make them a little bit smoother, a little more rounded. If I remove that background, there we have a rough outline of a pumpkin mug. Now, if I'd sat and take a lot more time, I wouldn't have these hinky little spots right here like this. I could kind of come through here and clean all this up so that, it looks a little smoother, a little cleaner. So you can come through here and perfect it as needed. And then you have your outline. So you could turn this into a door hanger template a couple different ways. You could export this to like blockposters.net. Or I think there's another one called like rasterbator.com, and that would turn it into like a blow up poster. So that's one way you could turn this into a template. If you needed to turn this into a laser file, I would import it into your laser software and then use the trace function. If you want it to be really clean with no double lines, you could import it into Adobe Illustrator and then manually create the lines from there. I don't personally know how to do that because somebody on my team does that for me. I just do the design part of it. Now, if you wanted to play around and get colorful with this, you could drag and drop colors in here and make, your mug colorful and add details. Whoops. And then you could, make the color version of your design. The second way that you can use Procreate for your door hanger painting is to import a photo of one of your door hangers. So I'm going to do that now. And I'm going to insert this leaf door hanger. So originally, this leaf door hanger had it had lettering on it that said the word thankful. So maybe we want to put something else on this. Maybe we want to put grateful. A couple different ways you can do this. And you may be wondering, like, why would you do this in Procreate? If you're not comfortable with hand lettering, or you need to visually be able to see what you're going to create first, you could do it in here. You could also create yourself a little template with this and then trace it onto your design, or you could laser cut it. This is also super handy if you want to send a mock-up to your customer of what the custom lettering or the custom version of this door hanger would be for them, and get their approval before you paint it. So a couple ways you could add your lettering. You've got your photo. Let's add a layer. and we're going to just write our lettering out. So I'm just going to pick a brush here, and I'm going to write out the word grateful. This is very, oh, I don't like that. That's the great thing about it. You can just erase it and keep going. Now that is very fine line, right? Very fine line. If we want to thicken this up, now we can thicken our brush, and we can go down through here and thicken the lines to make them look a little bit more like calligraphy. And sometimes you can control how thick the brush pushes down by just adding more pressure when you use the brush. That's one of the brush, I meant the Apple Pencil. That's one of the things you'll have to get used to when you're using an Apple Pencil, is that some brushes, the more you press down, the thicker it will be. And there we have our custom lettering. Now, if I wanted to export this as a template, I would just remove the background layer, and I would save this and export this lettering, like print it out on your printer and then trace it on your design. Another way to do custom lettering, let's delete that, is to add in text. So add text on top of your door hanger. I'm going to type out the word grateful. And then, hang on, let me move it down so you can see it. So there it is in just the standard font, but we can import fonts into Procreate and choose a custom font. So we could come through here and maybe choose a really pretty script like this, like the word grateful. There are ways that you can tweak this text lettering to then look less font-ish. And that would be if you take this layer, see how it's a text layer, tap on it and click rasterize. That turns it into a non-text layer. Now it's like a graphic layer. And we can modify this, right? So if I wanted that G to be bigger, I could use the select tool and select, like trace around that G and drag and make it bigger. And now that looks a little more custom, right? I could also make the letters bounce by selecting some of these letters. Let's zoom in on one. And I'm just selecting the edge of the letter there where it meets up with the last letter, switching to select, and I'm going to move it up. So maybe I want this lettering to look like it bounces just a bit instead of being like in a perfect little straight line like it was. Let's take the T now. And you might have to do some cleanup work around the edges of the letters. I'm doing this fairly quickly so you can kind of see what I mean. And there you can see that the letters don't look like they're all in a perfect straight line now. They kind of look like they're bouncing along. Certain fonts are better for this than others. This one wasn't a great one to do it with, but you kind of get the idea. So then you would, again, turn this layer off, export this lettering, and you have your own custom lettering. Another way that you can use Procreate for designing your door hangers is to take a template and change it up. So in here, I have the template for one of our Painters Clubhouse designs, and I want to change this to a design with 3 ice cream cones. So I'm going to use the select tool and the rectangle to select the entire ice cream cone. I'm going to copy and paste it. That puts it on a new layer. And then on the original layer, I need to delete. I should have cut and paste. Let's do that again, because I don't want to have to delete what's underneath. Let's do this instead. Rectangle select, cut and paste. Okay, so now it has removed it from that center layer. Can you see right here? There's nothing there. So I'm going to fill that in with white. Oops. There we go. And then on this top layer with the ice cream cone only, I'm going to delete the white space around it, because if I'm duplicating this little ice cream cone and putting multiple ones on top of here, I don't want the white space to overlap the ice cream cones. You'll know what I mean if it ends up happening to you. Okay, I'm going to move the first ice cream over, duplicate, second ice cream cone, I've got my snapping and magnetics on, or snapping on, and that allows you to like line those ice cream cones up right parallel to one another. And you can see that like they're starting to go off the edge of the design. Whoops. So what we need to do is select all 3 ice cream cones and just shift them over a bit. Maybe I'm going to shift them up a bit as well. So there we go. Now you could change up the lettering if you want. We could take the original design here and just paint over the lettering. So now it's no longer there. And we can add in our own custom lettering by hand lettering it, or importing font, like a little text in here. Let's just do happy birthday. Right there. I'm going to shift my ice cream cones up one more time, just a little higher. Oop. Sometimes that snapping gets on my nerves. Let's turn it off. Sometimes it's helpful and sometimes it's not. There we go. Happy birthday with 3 ice cream cones instead of living the sweet life. So that's just one way that you can modify a template. You could also add something to a template, take something off, change the shape. For example, if I wanted to take this design and then put it on a round, I could take this, all of this that I've created, delete the back spot part of it, and then I could do a circle around it. Well, I said that. Hold on. I got to get on a new layer. That would be helpful. Let's put on a new layer and just draw, whoop, make our thing smaller. Draw a circle. And then I'm going to shift that circle. And now I have like a circular door hanger template. So that's one way you can also modify a design. And that's it. 3 simple ways that you can start using Procreate to make your painting life so much easier. If this sparked some ideas or made you want to dive deeper on how to use this app, I've got a full course called Procreate for Makers where I walk you through everything step by step. The best part, it's 40% off right now. So you can grab it at procreateformakers.com. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Happy creating, and I'll see you in the next video.